Trust. Written and narrated by Annye Castonguay. 1000 words. Written March 2016. Recorded July 11th, 2017. Trust. Her mother had taught her never to get in cars with strangers or on the back of motorcycles with boys she hardly knew. Her mother had taught her not to eat food offered by strangers, especially not Halloween candy. Her mother had taught her not to walk alone at night or get drunk in bars because men would take advantage of her. To protect her, her mother had taught her fear. Her mother had taught her no one could be trusted. As a result, her life became a constant analysis of calculated risks. She always thought the worst of people because that is what she had learned. Her mother hadn't taught her that monsters are not always strangers or that bad things don't happen only after sunset. Her mother hadn't taught her that even those supposed to protect her couldn't all be trusted. She learned that people couldn't be trusted, and she lived accordingly. What she didn't know is that she didn't trust anyone. Being around others was at first so stressful. She had to manage so many emotions, tame feelings, and curb enthusiasm. She made friends easily. She invested herself in her friendships. Those fires burned high and fast. Being an only child, she dreamt of siblings. She desperately looked for closeness, but even within her family, it eluded her. You see, they all believed the same thing and never got the chance to challenge those beliefs. She was no different, a product of her environment. She hadn't learned there were other ways. What she hadn't learned was discernment, who to trust and who to flee. Did the people she trusted betray her because she expected deception, or because she opened up to them? Did she even know what trust was? Was she capable of trust? As time went by, she remained friendly, but refrained from nourishing the friendships. She kept her distance, shared only enough to keep the relationship fluid, but never enough to close the deal. She never went all in. She didn't know how. Still, she felt hurt when those passing friendships dissolved. Her inability to trust fully another human being crippled all of her romantic relationships. Her need for closeness and unconditional love was so great. She was an easy target. She didn't trust that she was good enough, that she had anything worthy to offer. She grasped at straws. You see, trust is a funny thing. She truly didn't trust anyone, not even herself. She didn't know she had wings because they were still neatly folded in her heart. She chose men who were not madly in love with her, and this became her own personal hell. Interestingly enough, she had great relationships with children who seemed to imprint on her. She trusted them implicitly because they hadn't yet learned deceit. They loved her because she valued and protected them, because they instinctively knew she was genuine. Perhaps it was because around them, she let her guard down. You see, all her life, she had made a point not to depend on anyone, but that gets very lonely after a while. She didn't like the life she had. It dawned on her. She had the power to change it. She booked a plane ticket, filled a backpack, and with passport in hand, left the country. This might seem like an easy move to you, but trying this for the first time at 50 was a little scary. For once, she trusted that she had what it takes, and that no matter what, she would be fine. She headed to Southeast Asia because she heard from friends it was a safe place, and more importantly, that the people were trustworthy. Her first days in Bali set out quite a steep learning curve. Stranded with no cash, it was people she just met who came to her rescue. Before she even asked, they started helping her work short-term solutions until she could fix the problem. It took 4 days, and without the help of these new friends, her first days abroad could have taken a dramatically different turn. These strangers just wanted to help her. They didn't want anything from her. That was new to her. Had she found them because she trusted they would be there? Had she somehow attracted them into her life? Could it really be that simple? As she continued on their journey, her discernment skills sharpened. It became easier for her to trust. She got in cars with strangers and on the back of motorcycles with boys she hardly knew. Her beliefs were being challenged. She was ready to accept there were people like her who did things just to help others. She would find them, come hell or high water. Still, there was much work to be done. She trusted the people she encountered not to kill her, but that is still far from trusting completely someone. It took a lot of baby steps to banish the fear that had plagued her all of her life. She went from sleeping with windows and doors locked to sleeping in a mixed dorm. That was a huge feat. The real turning point came after a 3-day trek between Kala and Inlay Lake. 65-kilometer trek, 3,000 feet in the mountain with 6 strangers. Trekking up and down mountain, talking, laughing, eating. A camaraderie she had never known before. Challenges and helping hands. Gratefulness for beauty and kindness. Sleeping 7 cots in a row. Extreme closeness. A celebration dinner at the end of the trek. Too many drinks. Some things she could only do with people she completely trusted. Perhaps the people were different because they weren't driven by fear. Certainly the circumstances were different than at home. She realized it was as effortless as floating on the surface of the ocean. All it takes is complete surrender and absolute trust. In the end, it is herself she had learned to trust.